Blessed be you, harsh matter, barren soil, stubborn rock, you who yield only to violence, you who force us to work if we would eat. Blessed be you, perilous matter, violent sea, untamable passion, you who, unless we fetter you, wilt devour us. Blessed be you, mighty matter, irresistible march of evolution, reality ever newborn, you who, constantly shattering our mental categories, force us to go even further and further in our pursuit of the truth. Blessed be you, universal matter, immeasurable time, boundless ether, triple abyss of stars and atoms and generations, you who by overflowing and dissolving our narrow standards of measurement reveal to us the dimensions of God. In indigenous cultures, the autumnal equinox marks the beginning of the season of the bear. The bear will take you to a cave in this season where you can find the courage to let go of your fears and realize your dreams. Native American legends of autumn tell the stories of why the leaves have so many colors. Here is one story from the Wyandot Huron tribe. One day, in the season of the harvest, the people of the village asked the wise elders, "Why do the leaves have so many colors?" And the wise elders replied, "We will tell you the story of the battle fought by the deer and the bear in the land of the sky." The bear was selfish and proud. He often made trouble among the animals of the great council. He craved their attention, and he loved their fear of him. When he heard that the deer had walked over the rainbow bridge into the skyland, he was angry not to have been included. "I will punish the deer," he said, and with that he went to the rainbow bridge, leaped along it into the skyland, where he found the deer and said to him, "Why did you come into this land? Why did you not wait until all of us in the animal council could come to live here?" Now the once peaceful deer grew angry. Only the wolf had authority to ask him such questions. The bear had no right to speak to the deer in this manner. And so the deer said to the bear, "You have gone about making trouble among the animals long enough, and you shall never do it again." The deer said, "I shall kill you, bear." And he arched his neck and tossed his head to show his long, sharp antlers. His eyes blazed as if a fire burned in them. He thought that he would slay the bear with a single stroke of his terrible horns. The bear was not afraid. He too was proud, and his claws were very sharp and strong. He stood erect for the mighty conflict. His deep growls shook the sky like rolling thunder. The struggle was terrific and long. The bear was torn by the cruel horns of the deer, and the deer by the claws of the bear. When the remaining animals of the great council heard the awful noise, Wolf went up to the sky to stop the dreadful battle. All the animals had to obey the wolf. And so the deer turned and ran away. And the bear, too, fled along the paths of the sky. As the deer ran, the blood of the bear dropped from his horns and fell down to the lower world and made the leaves of the trees many colors. Some were red, some yellow, some brown, some scarlet, some crimson. Now, each year in autumn, when the leaves of the trees take on these many colors, the Wyandots say the blood of the bear has again been thrown down to the lower world and made the trees of the great island colorful. And we are asked again to enter into the cool darkness, to reflect on our lives, face our fears, and free our dreams. One fear we ministers face is that our batteries go dead. That's why we have this. As we gather this morning, at the turn of the autumnal equinox, moving towards winter's darkness, we remember that our ancestors worshipped a wild God who interferes with sound systems. The God they knew intimately, they were introduced to through nature herself, in wind and rain and heat and storm and lightning, through roiling river and crashing wave and swallowing flood, through earthquake and landslide and fire, of falling sky and sinking abyss, of bear claw and wolf fang and eagle's beak. A God that forced them to work if they would eat. A God that could at any moment devour them if they did not find ways to bind up its untamable passion. They saw this God reflected also in their own nature, a God formed of equal darkness and light, demanding that we human creatures balance both within our lives and ourselves as well, even as nature shows us how. This was the God of our ancients. Enter civilization. Enter religion as we have known it. Enter colonizing cultures that sought and still seek at all cost to tame this wild God. But how? By taming wild humanity. By taming wild humanity. By devising theologies that render a God that issues controlling commandments and gives edicts that weigh more toward thou shalt not than toward thou shalt. Study the history of Western religions and watch as men, terrified by the power of the matriarchal pagan societies before them, reduce unruly, beautiful, fantastical sacred texts to a formula of bondage for the unruly, beautiful, fantastical human race. Texts that to this day are wielded as weapons against the very nature given to us by this once wild God. We celebrate it in creation of all kinds. We sing and we paint and we dance and we drum and we cook and we shout and we write and we dream. All this wildness trying to find its way out, and yet at the same time we also long for order and predictability and safety and find comfort in routine. A place for everything and everything in its place. We put our books in duodecimal order in our homes, seeking order in our houses. We live every day in this delicate, fantastic, and potent tension between the need for our wildness and the need for order. We live inside this tension every day and all through the night. We wrestle with change like some brazen angel that dares to challenge our routine. And yet we say we want change and know that nothing can happen on this earth without it. My colleague and friend, the Reverend Joel Miller, considered it this way. I find a profound, even existential tension between what we call wild and the predictability and order we also long for. There is no creativity without wildness, and there is no nurture without order. I also find health in this tension between wildness and order, because wildness without order looks something like addiction. And order without wildness looks like tyranny. Wildness without order looks like addiction, and order without wildness looks like tyranny. So what is it that drove we humans to bind up this wild God our ancestors gave us? I propose that it was a yearning beyond our passion for wildness or our craving for order. Beyond either of these, it was a deep desire to be in balance between. To not feel out of control and not feel caught and bound. To not fear that we would step over the edge of our existence at any moment. And also not feel that we could not have our existence. To feel, if only for a moment, safe. We had to tame God, if only by taming ourselves. But we overdid it. To the wild in children, we said, be seen and not heard. To the wild God in female bodies, we said, be weak and be foolish. To the wild God in male bodies, we said, express yourself only in power and only in dominance. And then to take it a step further, we insisted and devised all manner of violence and rendered it necessary to keep order, or so we said. We learned to worship reason over wisdom. We lauded logic over inspiration and science over mystery, even on those days that science only leads to ever more of the unexplained. We shamed the shamans and declared unexplained phenomena as chicanery and ignorance. And where has it gotten us? Is our society, is our world any more ordered today than ever before? Or maybe perhaps it is more chaotic for all our efforts. So it is today that we remember our ancient ancestors taught us to pause on this autumnal equinox to mark nature's example of perfect balance. A moment of equal light and darkness, not only of the earth, but within ourselves. Indigenous and earth-oriented cultures all over the world mark the autumnal equinox with apples, the fruit of the second harvest, and symbol of knowledge and enlightenment, which is exactly why the Judeo-Christian legend of the perfect garden and the God of the Hebrew Scripture told the first humans not to eat them. But Eve did. And she awoke to her true nature, as we yet strive to do. To that end this morning, we will share a bounty of apples. Baskets will come your way. As you take an apple, take a moment to ponder the balance of your own life. The balance of work and play, of people and solitude, of effort and rest, of hurt and healing, of waking and dreaming, fear and love. Where do you need more balance? How do you get it? Where can you get it? What will you let go? What will you hold on to? What will you realize must die for something new to be born? Gail will lead us on a musical journey as we share our apples. Just a note to let you know that every single one of these apples was washed by hand, by me, and kept in the refrigerator until just now. So at the end of this blessing, if you feel so moved, you may take a bite. The apple is sacred, a symbol of the gods, and holds the knowledge of the ancients within. This morning, we ask them to bless us with their wisdom, We call upon the wise ones, the ancient gods, as the sun moves away and the fire fades, to be replaced by the chill of night. 5 points in a star hidden inside. 1 for earth, 1 for air, 1 for fire, 1 for water, 1 for spirit. As the wheel of the year turns, the earth dies a bit each day. We willingly follow the old gods into the darkness, where they will watch over us, protect us, and keep us safe. We welcome the wild God. We look to darkness for renewal and rebirth. If in your reflection this morning, there arose a fear that you might not be up to the task of finding balance in yourself in this world, in more chaos than any other time in our memory. Consider this teaching from the American Tibetan nun and beloved teacher, Pema Chodron. Humans are transitional beings, beings who are neither fully caught nor fully free, but in the process of awakening. I see myself in the process of becoming, of evolving. I'm neither doomed nor completely free, but am creating my future with every word, every action, every thought. I find myself in a very dynamic situation with unimaginable potential, and I have all I need to engage in the process of awakening. What spark of wildness waits within you? What thought have you feared thinking? What feeling do you resist? What shift in perspective or evolution of belief? What taming untamed? What wild idea that just won't be forced into the present mold of your mind? What seemingly unreachable style? What hunger yet unsatisfied? What notion that just doesn't quite fit, but won't go away? How will you balance that with your equal need for order and safety? The famous atheist and renowned intellectual Barbara Ehrenreich admits that she has experiences she cannot explain and dares us to examine our own, as she writes in her book, Living with a Wild God. It would be a great mistake, Ehrenreich says, to ignore the stray bit of data that doesn't fit into your preconceived theories, and that might even confound everything you thought you were sure of. So, blessed be you, mighty matter, irresistible march of evolution, proclaims Teilhard de Chardin. You who, by constantly shattering our mental categories, force us to go even further and further in our pursuit of truth. Blessed be you, universal matter, unmeasurable time, boundless ether, triple abyss of stars and atoms and generations. You who, by overflowing and dissolving our narrow standards of measurement, reveal the dimensions of God. This morning, let us dare to welcome the wild.